So we can't keep
You
interrupting.
got to understand that you're dealing with an image of a 14-year-old child. And this child gonna be out there playing when your whole ass and knee gonna be in the grave.
Most great athletes are discovered. Tennis players are built, and they are built absurdly early. There's this folk wisdom in tennis that if you're not exceptional by about the age of 6, the window has already closed. It sounds like an exaggeration.
6 years old? You have to be a generational talent by the age of 6? Bro, that's actually crazy.
But it isn't, because tennis might be the only sport on earth where a parent can decide their child will be a champion before that child is even born, and turn out to be right. I know that sounds a little crazy, so let me explain. In 1978, a man named Richard Williams was flipping through TV channels and stopped on a tennis match, where he watched the winner collect a check for $40,000. And he turned to his wife and said, "We're going to have 2 more kids, and they're going to be tennis players." He had never played the sport seriously, and he had learned to play from magazines. He then sat down and wrote a 78-page plan, a blueprint for 2 careers for daughters that didn't even exist yet. By the time they
Talk about the power of manifestation, bro. Yo, that's actually crazy.
They would win more than 30 Grand Slam single titles between them. He raised them on the public courts of Compton on purpose, because the rougher the place, the tougher the kid. So a man with no tennis background wrote 30 Grand Slam titles into existence before their mother was even pregnant. You could call that a fluke, an obsessive father who got lucky twice. But this happens again and again and again. So let me show you why it's the recipe. Emmanuel Agassi was an immigrant and former Olympic boxer who decided his youngest son would be #1 in the world. When Andre Agassi was a baby, his father taped ping pong paddles to his wrists and hung a ball over his crib so he could learn to track it. In his backyard, his father built a court with a net 6 inches higher than normal, and he built a ball machine that fired at 110 miles an hour, which Andre called the Dragon. The craziest part, the quota was 2,500 balls a day, because his father did the maths. 2,500 a day is nearly 1,000,000 balls a year. A child who hits 1,000,000 balls a year will be unbeatable. And he was right. Agassi went on to win 8 majors and an Olympic gold. But here's where it goes sour. The first sentence of Agassi's autobiography was just 3 words. "I hate tennis." And he said he always did. Maria Sharapova was spotted at a clinic in Moscow at 6 years old. At 7 years old, her father borrowed $700, and the 2 of them flew to Florida, not speaking a word of English, to chase the tennis dream. She won Wimbledon at 17. So in a world saturated in talent, nurture was everywhere. You take a child, apply relentless force, and a champion comes out on the other side. 3 families, 3 similar blueprints, 3 champions. It worked. Except, if it really were that simple, if greatness was just the reps, then kids who never went through that blueprint shouldn't be able to compete with the kids who did. And yet, some of them are the best who've ever lived. Take Yannick Sinner. He's currently one of the 2 best players on the planet. But as a child, tennis was his 3rd sport. He was a competitive skier first, became a national champion in his age group at 8 years old. He played football in the afternoons, and tennis was the thing he did in the evening, almost as an afterthought. He didn't commit to it until he was 13. No pre-birth blueprint, no 2,500 balls a day. He excelled in 3 sports, picked one that suited him, and then beat the manufactured prodigies anyway. Rafael Nadal won 22 majors. But as a boy, he wanted to be a footballer. His uncle played for Barcelona. Rafa was the top scorer on his team. He didn't choose tennis through some grand plan. His mother told him he couldn't keep doing football, tennis, and school. So pick 2, and one of them had to be school. Which means the greatest clay court player in history got there partly by a process of elimination. So maybe there's something underneath all the training, something you bring with you. And you see it most clearly in the athletes who were so gifted they could have done anything. Anthony Edwards was a #1 pick in his NBA draft class. But as a kid, he was the best running...
Oh my gosh, that dunk was crazy.
Anthony Edwards was a #1 pick in his NBA draft class. But as a kid, he was the best running back in the country at 9 years old. He only switched to basketball in spite of losing to his older brother at the time. Tom Brady, the most successful quarterback ever, was drafted by Major League Baseball before the NFL. The scouts thought he could have been one of the best catchers in the game. Some people are just built different. The natural advantages are so good that it doesn't matter which sport you point them at. So which one is it? The reps or the wiring? It's the age-old nature versus nurture debate. And for once, the science actually has an answer. You've probably heard of the 10,000 hour rule. Do anything for 10,000 hours and you'll master it. It's one of the most repeated ideas for success, but it's also more or less a myth. The number came from a study of violinists. And 5-time New York Times bestselling author Malcolm Gladwell actually turned it into a rule. And the researcher whose work it was based on has spent years saying that there never even was a rule. 10,000 was an average, and it hid enormous differences between people. Then it got even worse for the just practice harder crowd. When scientists actually measured it, deliberate practice explained about 18% of the difference in
18%? That's really low, man. And the fact that I didn't even know, I thought Malcolm Gladwell just came up with the idea and it was an actual like rule. But to think that he just based it off of, I have to do research on this. This is definitely eye-opening.
Sporting performance. And at the very top level, among the elite of the elite, it explained around 1%, which is crazy. Among the best in the world, the ones who have all practiced obsessively, that practice barely separates them at all. They are fighting for inches. And what truly separates them is the hardwire they were born with. The cleanest way to think about it is this. Your genes are the hardware. They load the gun. Practice is the software. Better hardware lets you install better software faster and then reach a higher ceiling. Neither one is enough on its own, which explains why tennis is so strange. In most sports, you can acquire the skills late. The window stays open as long as they have the foundation. In tennis, it doesn't. The timing, the feel, the patterns. They have to be written into a player early, while the window is still open. So tennis demands both things at once, the right genetics and an obsessive skill set build that has to start in childhood. That's why a parent can plan a tennis champion from birth and be right, when the same plan would be insane for almost any other sport. But there's a third ingredient, and nobody can plan for it. Novak Djokovic has won more Grand Slams than any man in history, but he's
For fuck's sake, cut!
But his story never involved a blueprint. His family ran a pizza restaurant in a ski resort in the mountains of Serbia. They were a family obsessed with skiing, so by default, Novak was headed for the slopes. Then when he was about 4 years old, a construction crew built 3 tennis courts, directly across the street from his family's restaurant. A summer camp opened on those courts, run by a coach named Jelena Jencic, who happened to be one of the best junior developers alive. She'd already produced a multiple slam champion in Monica Seles, and a 6-year-old Novak Djokovic stood at the fence and watched her all morning. She took notice, and the next day he turned up along with a perfectly packed bag. She asked if his mother packed it, and he was insulted. She said she knew in that session she'd found a golden child. So now we have the full formula. Hardware you're born with, a software build that has to start early, and luck. The right coach in the right place at the right time. Which leaves one uncomfortable question. Of these 3 ingredients, only one is a decision a human being makes, the build. And that build often comes at a cost. Jennifer Capriati turned pro at 13 years old. She had $5 million in endorsements before she'd played a single professional
$5 million? 13 years old, bro. That's generational wealth, man.
match. She reached the Grand Slam semi-final at 14. She beat Steffi Graf for Olympic gold at 16. And her father's philosophy was that when the apple is ripe, you eat it. But by 18, she had walked away from the sport, burnt out and depressed. The most famous moment from that period isn't her with a trophy. It's a mugshot. Jelena Dokic, a teenage prodigy who beat the world number 1 at Wimbledon at 16.
Wait, hold up. So at 18...
It's a mugshot. Jelena Dokic.
Wow. She really just peaked early. I really got to look into her story because, bro, that's actually insane that she had so much success at a very young age. And then by the time that she became 18, she just hated the sport. Wow.
A teenage prodigy who beat the world number 1 at Wimbledon at 16. She says that the abuse from her father started at just 6 years old, that she was beaten until she lost consciousness, that the better she played, the worse it got. And the story got very dark when she was 22. After Capriati, the sport took a long hard look at what it was doing to its child prodigies and changed the rulebook. It brought in age limits, capping how much a teenager could play, and people still call it the Capriati rule. The manufactured Prodigy machine was breaking enough kids that tennis made it against the rules to push them as hard as it once had. And these are just 3 stories from the ones that made it. Who knows how many more there are from the ones who never did. So, in tennis, you can decide a child will be a champion before they're born and be right. But look at what it actually requires. It requires choosing a child's entire life before that child can say a single word about it. The talent might be born, the luck might fall where it needs to, but the build, the part that turns a gifted kid into a champion, is a decision an adult makes and a child pays for. So here's what matters. The strangest thing isn't that some of these players were broken by it. It's that so many of them, still to this day, give credit to the very person who did it to them. as if, deep down, they believe they wouldn't have been great any other way. And maybe they're right. And if they are, then born or made was never really the question. The question is whether it should be allowed at all. I don't know the answer. But the next time you watch a teenage prodigy hit a forehand that doesn't look human, ask yourself which one you're actually looking at. A child who was born for this, or a decision somebody else already made? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're new here, subscribe.
From the day I was born,
Wow.
my father, Mike, saw this day in my future and described it to me many times. Dad, when I was 5, you told me to win Wimbledon. Please don't ever stop telling me what to do.
I thought that I could live through my kids, and I thought that I could make $1 million.
Wow. Bro, this video is definitely eye-opening. I learned so much. I don't really play tennis that much, and just to see how much like parents put into that try to like live through their kids to be able to see them do well in the sport. That's some of them are able to do great success in tennis, while others not so well. They end up having problems with their mental health. And wow, it's just really just shows you the power of just having like a parent in your life to be able to guide you through whatever you're doing, because sometimes it can lead to great success, while other times it can lead to failure. But at the end of the day, you as an individual, you have to decide what you want to do in life. Do you want to be great, or do you want to be just simply okay? And I mean, at the end of the day, you have to be okay with whatever decision that you make. Anyway, that's enough yapping for me. If you guys enjoyed this video, I'll see y'all in the next one.